This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Blockbuster or Video Easy. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. And guys, we're still coasting through that miraculous decade, the 2000s, our formative years, at least for some of us. And there's been, I would say, a very absent presence in this decade for the last couple of weeks. We've had some old favorites return, of course, but there's one man who has been missing for a little while, and that's just because, hey, life happens, man. Get off his back. Leave him alone. He's here now for you. That's very aggressive. I don't know why. Welcome back to the show. One of my best friends in the world, the very lovely and charming Nick Owen. Welcome back, mate.
Hello, James. It's always a pleasure to come back. We've got an aggressive start. Let's continue that energy.
Do you know why? It's because you were aggressive right before we started recording.
I know.
I felt off the energy. How are you, my good friend?
I'm going really well, thanks, mate. Yeah, as you mentioned, very, very busy, as life often gets. But going well, and really excited to talk about a very formative decade. I was just making some notes before, and bit of a jump in the gun because we haven't started talking about the decade yet. But I was just thinking, I entered the decade we're going to talk about at 11, and finished it at what would I have been, 19, 20. So it's like I started as a casual film watcher and ended as a snob. So it's going to be a pretty exciting thing to talk about.
Well, we've both used the word formative now, and I've said to pretty much every guest who's been on the show, like, because they're in the same, kind of from the same generation of us, like Tina, obviously the same generation as us, Josh, Gabby and Andre, a little bit younger, but still relatively similar generation. We've all kind of been in agreement that it may be the best decade of film ever. Like, and I know that's controversial for some people, but it's just it was at a time when there was so much money in Hollywood where they're like, yeah, just make everything. And like the box office wasn't dominated by like Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Not that I have a problem with that. Clearly on this show, I love that sort of stuff. But like there was room for the indie darlings and those $30 million J-Lo comedies and like weird thrillers and stuff like that. It was just such a cultural mosaic, like this landscape tapestry of just like anything goes. And there was some garbage in there, and there was some really wonderful stuff, and there was some wonderful garbage in there. It's definitely probably my favorite decade of films now that I think about it. Like, and it's been the most challenging list for so many people because they're like, there's just so much content. There's just so much.
Wow. I think that's just a product of like, you're right. Like for most of your guests, and definitely for me, this is the decade where we grew up. And so for the previous lists we've done, 80s and 90s, I don't think we've done 70s, have we?
No, I want to, but I do feel if I do 70s, a lot of people will tap out. They'll be like, oh, I don't really have anything for it. So what I'm thinking about doing is maybe instead of doing 70s, just doing classics, and anything pre-80s is a classic.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I could probably do 70s. I know David could surely do 70s.
I'd love to, but yeah, I do understand. But yeah, I just think so. Like, my point there was maybe 90s, not so much, but for something like the 80s, we're all looking back with this retrospective lens. And so for a lot of people, like the list of 80s films and the best 80s films has already been curated for you. People tell you what the films are. We just know them. Whereas this is like, we were there at the coalface, we were there as movies came out, and we were there at Blockbuster or Video Easy every weekend. So,
well, I think a big part of it as well is that, like, because you mentioned the 90s, and the 90s, I think to a certain extent, but the 90s, we very much watched what was governed by our parents or like the adults in our lives. Whereas in the 2000s, because we are getting older, we can go to the video store by ourselves, we can go to the movies by ourselves. We suddenly have the power of choice. It's like, I can choose to watch this. And like, if you were lucky enough to work in a video store like I did, you could watch stuff that maybe you weren't old enough to watch yet. You could kind of slide if you like. Most of the Quentin Tarantino stuff that I watched before I was 18. So I watched in a video store. I was like, done and done. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your thoughts there, my friend.
No, no, that's okay. That's okay. Are we going straight into the 2000s?
Well, I know
I've got
you
more
had some stuff
thoughts.
you wanted to talk about, so I thought you've got a topic, and I thought we might do a little revision of stuff as well. Have you been to the movies lately or watched anything kind of exciting? I know there's a big sci-fi epic out at the moment that is
I have I
on your
have seen
menu.
it.
You've seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah, I saw it on opening. I think I saw like the first session
Nice.
because I was away actually in Sydney and was flew up there. It was a really hot day, so I hadn't checked into the Airbnb and just had time to kill. So I
Mm.
was up there with a friend of mine, and we were just like, "Oh, it's really
Sam
hot. Should we just go
Jackson and
see a
Matthew
movie?"
McConaughey. Time to
It
kill.
was, yeah. Uh, and so we did go and see this said movie. I don't know if you want to introduce it. Have you seen it?
I haven't yet. I went. I'm trying to go to the movies as much as I can this year, and I've been. I want to say 6 or 7 times by myself, which has been really cool. But last weekend, Dune opened, so Dune is what we're talking about. And
Yeah.
I did want to see it, but opening weekend, I was like, it's gonna be crazy. Like the cinema near my house, people can get a bit loud and chatty and stuff. I was like, I'll go see Argyle. I haven't seen Argyle yet. I want to see that. I'll go catch that in the theater. And then this weekend, I'm taking Zoe to the movie. She doesn't know yet, but
Oh, that's so sweet.
yeah. Well, Disney through the month of March are releasing all the films in theaters they didn't get a chance to because of the pandemic. So last week was Turning Red. Next week it's going to be Soul, and this week it's going to be Luca. I think Turning Red and Soul are a bit too advanced for her. She's 3.5, but I think Luca's in the sweet spot. It's about a couple of boys who are like sea monsters and stuff like that, set in Italy. So I'm going to take her to the movies. Just her and I will have like a daddy daughter date. So I'll go. I'll do
That sounds
Dune.
bellissimo, mate.
Molto bene. Buongiorno, to quote a little well, that movie, I don't know, we might talk about that movie later, who knows.
Who could say?
Porque la nos dos. But yeah, so Dune probably next weekend, but I wasn't a huge rap for the first Dune, and I didn't, it's not that I didn't think it was a good movie. Like Denis Villeneuve is a master director, like just a visual stylist. I just felt that the first one was very slow and not a lot happened. It was very world building with not much happening. um, and I didn't. I thought I was the only one, but I've heard a lot of people say that, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, it's setting up part two." And all I've heard is part two is story and action and everything you wanted from part one. So I think together it'll be quite the cinematic experience. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, and look, I'll try and give a bit of a spoiler-free review.
I have
I
seen the
really,
'80s Dune movie, so I am familiar with the story, like I'm, about like Paul
yeah,
Atreides and stuff like that.
yeah, but it's fantastic, and yeah, I think it's definitely for anyone who's thinking of going to see it. I would just recommend if you can, just catch the first one, so it's a bit of a refresher because it does pick up sort of straight away,
Mm.
straight after. But look, honestly, like at this point, it feels like Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve are just trading punches, and
Yeah,
I feel like maybe Denis Villeneuve just taken the championship belt back.
interesting.
Um, it's just it's rare that you can go. I go to the cinema and I'm like, wow, I have not seen this before. Anything that looks like this, and he's found a way to do it. It's a gorgeous looking film.
Mm.
It is really. There's a lot of action, and the plot moves really quickly. There's a lot of yada yadaing. But I think it needs to be. I think it's like pretty propulsive as a film. It definitely keeps you interested.
I
Um,
think the other reason I had trouble with the first one is at that point I wasn't a big rap for Timothy Chalamet. Like I don't, and I didn't think he was a bad actor or anything like that. I just felt like I'd seen him in a lot of roles, and he had kind of this air, like ironically, considering the name of my show, he had this kind of air of like kind of pretension, snobbiness. And I don't think he's that kind of person. I have no idea. I don't know nothing about the guy, but like just the way he carried himself, his performance, I didn't quite dig. Like it just there's a vibe I didn't really like. And then I saw him in Wonka, and whilst I don't know if he was the right casting for Wonka, I liked seeing a bit of a lighter side of him. And then I saw him in Bones and All, and now I'm on the Chalamet Express. I'm like, I'm here for it. Like it took me a little while. I had to see him do a couple of different roles other than being like kind of rich douchebags. Um,
mm,
and now that I've seen him do a couple of different things, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I was like that way with Ryan Reynolds as well. Like when I first saw Ryan Reynolds when I was like growing up in the 2000s, couldn't stand him. And it wasn't until I saw Van Wilder, I was like, okay, now I'm on board. Like it just,
Yeah.
there's some people it just takes a little while to like find. To, like, can you imagine living in a world where people didn't like Ryan Reynolds? Like
Yeah, I
he's one of
know.
the most beloved actors in the world. But
He had like the biggest slow burn of all time. Like I
mm,
actually came across one of his. I was just looking at some lists of films from the decade we're going to talk about, and to jog my memory, and I came across a film of his called, I think it was Waiting,
oh my god,
which
I was
is
about to
now
say.
like,
I was literally sitting there. I'm like, please say waiting, where
I was
Luis
like
Guzman
that's
does the goat. Uh,
yeah, I was like that film is now 20 years old. Like
yeah.
he was really in the trenches for a long time.
Well, he was a
Bef-
sitcom guy before that as well. He was in Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
oh, okay, didn't know that.
I never really
There you
watched
go.
it, but I know Tina watched it when she was growing up. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was a sitcom guy first, and then I think the first movie I saw him in was a comedy with Jerry O'Connell called Buying the Cow. And it was like meant to be kind of
Sounds good.
like an American Pie type Tom. Do you remember Tomcats? Like it was meant to be like American Pie. Like that was like a raunchy comedy in the early 2000s as well. It's meant to be kind of in the same vein as that, but just didn't
Yeah.
quite get the traction that some of those other ones did. But I'd seen him in a few things. I was like, I don't know, man. Like who is this guy? And then Van Wilder, I was like, oh, Bellissimo. Like okay, I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, look,
Sorry,
I
Dune
won't
too.
say no. I won't say too much more because and I know it's not a new story. But the other thing I did want to say there was I really like what they're doing with. Like I have to say that there feels like there's going to be a Dune 3.
Well, there's like I think they
Um,
said there's like a prequel series or something coming, or there's something like he's going to keep working on that world, which is pretty
yeah,
interesting.
but I like what they're doing where it's not like, because I do think there's some fatigue from the consumer about like going to see a movie and knowing that it's like, yep, this is the start of a 10 or 15-year journey that you're going to take with us.
Mm,
You won't quite have everything resolved, where they're not really announcing the sequels, you know, when you go see the film. And I would have to say this one's been a pretty successful film so far. So you'd think there's going to be a third. There's certainly scope for it in the way the story finishes, but
mm,
um, it's nice that it's not being like rammed down your throat. There's like, this is going to be a 5 movie series, and buckle up in it. So
mm.
yeah. Anyway, that's where I'll leave it. But I really loved it. Like on my little spreadsheet that I keep of films, I gave it a 9 out of 10.
No, so I like Villeneuve quite a bit. Like, did he do Prisoners?
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
so Prisoners, I think, is maybe controversial. I think it might be his best film. I think it's so underrated. No one ever talks about Prisoners. I love Sicario is fantastic. Arrival is obviously amazing. The only one that hasn't really gelled, the only two that haven't really gelled with me at this stage have been Dune and Blade Runner 2049. I think visually they're fantastic, but they're very slow paced stories. But also when I watched Blade Runner 2049, I was not giving things second chances, and now I really actually want to go back and give it another go because I
Mm,
just think it just needs um,
yeah, I
very.
love it. Love that film. That would probably be my pick. But equally, Sicario would be. I'd be very satisfied saying
He's
that's my
got a
second
very
pick.
strong filmography. Like, there's not really.
Mm,
You could pick anyone as your favorite. I don't think anybody will like. What are you talking about? Like, I think maybe Prisoners. I think Prisoners is very underrated, but I really like Prisoners. I think it's great because you get to see Hugh Jackman just do something a little bit different. Like, kind of be a little
mm,
bit more of a bad guy and
yeah.
stuff. And he's not a bad guy, but he's just got like a bit of a mean streak to him.
Mm.
But very different to what he did with Logan. So, um, nice. Have you been to see anything else? So I mentioned I've seen Argyle, which I thought was really fun. I really liked
Yeah,
Argyle.
tell me about Argyle. I mean, like I heard the dialogue around it. It didn't seem to be doing very well. But then I also think that some people are just too cynical to enjoy something that might just be funny. So
100%. Like when I didn't, I just kept seeing like pictures of Henry Cavill with his weird haircut and stuff like that. I had no idea what the movie was, and then I saw a trailer for it when I went to go see something else. And I was like, oh, it's a Matthew Vaughn flick. Matthew Vaughn, who did Kick-Ass and Kingsman and all sorts of other stuff. So I was like, oh, well, I'm definitely going to watch this then because I think Matthew Vaughn is an excellent director. I think he always makes really fun films, and even if they don't always land, like I didn't love the Kingsman, like the third one. I thought it
mm.
was fine,
Was that
but
Matthew Vaughn?
oh, maybe it wasn't. He did Kingsman 2, which I also didn't love. I thought it was
Mm,
good, but I didn't love it. Because the
mm,
first one to me is just so perfect. Like the first one is just
yeah.
like so well executed. But once I saw his name on it, I'm like, I'm going to go check it out. and I'm not spoiling anything. This is in the trailer. The whole idea is that Argyle, the character played by Henry Cavill, is a fictional character in a book written by this author. And so like what will happen is you'll see footage of like Argyle on his adventures, and then we'll kind of cut out of it, and she's writing the book or she's kind of telling the story, that sort of thing. Um, but then what happens is two separate spy agencies, a good one and a bad one, get hands on her latest manuscript before it's been published, and stuff she's writing is predicting real things that are happening in the world of espionage. So they're both trying to kind of catch her and like stop the other side from getting her, so they can use that information to kind of win this kind of war between the two spy agencies. That's the premise.
I reckon I can guess what happens.
I mean, maybe you can, but I'll say this: there were, I would say, 3 twists in the space of half an hour, and every single one of them shocked me. And I'm not saying that they were unpredictable. Like maybe I've just got so sucked into the world I wasn't really paying attention. Like some people might sit there with their arms filled, like, oh, you could see that coming. I didn't, and it was such a pleasant surprise to be sitting in the movie theater and be like, oh, you got me. Oh my god, you got me again. Like, well done. Like, look you go. Like Argyle. Yeah, I really like Sam Rockwell's in it. He's your like kind of your main spy. Gets to do plenty of dancing, which I think is just in his contract. Anytime he leaves his house, I think he's contractually obligated to dance. Like he's just got to. If he goes to get milk, he has to go dance to get milk. Like he's just always moving. Bryan Cranston's in it. Catherine O'Hara's in it. It's really fun. It's really fun, and it's a little bit. It's one you could go with. You could take the family to. Like, I mean, I wouldn't take Zoe to it because she's too young. But like, you could take like your 12-year-old, you know, your kind of 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids there.
Does it have that sort of like hyper violence that the Kingsman films have?
Not hyper violence. It's very subdued, and there's almost no cursing in it. It's very. It feels like a Bond film, just with a bit of tongue in cheek humor. It kind of like it's almost like Kingsman light. But that didn't dissuade me at all. Like 5-10 years ago, I probably would have been like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you censoring yourself?" But now, like, I have that appreciation. I'm like, you know what? Like, I enjoyed I enjoyed the restraint that he showed. Like, he managed to make a really fun, entertaining film. Caught me by surprise a couple of times, and he didn't need to like go the easy way out. Like, he could just, he could do it restrained and make it work. Like, I could take my dad to see that movie, and he'd have a blast. And obviously, I didn't mention, but Bryce Dallas Howard, just like incredible. Like, I was saying to Tina the other day when I was telling her about it, I was like, I feel like Bryce Dallas Howard is such an underappreciated performer. Like, we all know, she's Ron Howard's daughter, and we've always seen her on screen and stuff like that. But I feel like her name doesn't come up enough. Like when we were talking about like great actresses, but the whole time in there, I was like, she's in a different movie to everyone else. Like she's really doing some really great subtle stuff. Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah,
I agree. I just think it's been quite a while since it's almost like her her agent or manager or whatever is just showing her the wrong scripts. I agree with you. I think she's a great like she's really talented, and not only at acting but directing as well.
Yeah. Well, that episode of Black Mirror she did is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think she directs some Mandalorian episodes as well. But it's just been a long time since I've seen her in a movie that I enjoyed. Like I didn't really like the Jurassic World or whatever the sequel. Jurassic Park movies
like
were.
she's doing like everyone's doing their best in those films, and I don't think those films are bad. Like they're just carbon copies. Like I don't know if you and I ever talked about it. I definitely talked to Maddie about it. But I remember when I sat down to watch Jurassic World Dominion, the 3rd Jurassic World film. At one point they talk about going to an island, and I laughed. I'm like, oh, this is a joke. Like, there's no way they're going to an island 6 movies in a row. And like, I'm not even kidding. They went back to another island. I'm like, you're kidding me. Like, you're kidding me. Like the last movie ended, like the 2nd Jurassic World film, the Fallen Kingdom or whatever, I had mixed feelings about. I think it had a lot of really good ideas, but it's 2 different movies. And the second, like the finale of that film, though, when like the dinosaurs just roaming the world finally, I was like, oh my God, you're setting up something so cool. I can't wait to see a whole movie where the dinosaurs are out in the public. And they're like, nope, we're going back to an island. I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you're going back to an island? That seems like the least interesting thing you could do. And like, it was the movie where they're like, we're finally doing it. The old cast and the new cast together at last. And it's like, yeah, when you say at last, you mean like in the last 10 minutes, because I know with a scheduling thing or a script thing, but like you couldn't get them together sooner. Like, yeah, again,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being really harsh because I do like those movies, but yeah, like they're very popcorn flicks, and so is Argyle. Argyle's definitely a popcorn flick. Like, I'm not going in there looking for deep stories about the human condition, but it's nice to see Bryce Dallas Howard take a leading role, get to be funny, be sexy, be charming, be smart and clever, like do all the things that a hero should do, but also be filled with like riddled with self-doubt. Like, I don't know, like she gets to wear a lot of hats in this movie,
Mm.
which I think is nice. It doesn't always work out that way. So
Oh, nice one. So recommend?
100%, 100%.
Mm.
I really had a good time with it. I actually haven't had a bad time at the movies this year. Like, everything I've been to see at the movies so far this year, I've really enjoyed.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a couple of other recent
Even Madam Web I
films.
enjoyed, which I know people are
Oh my
rolling their eyes.
god, James! I mean, I can't wait to see it, but I just don't know if I'm going to be seeing it for the right reasons.
I'll say this about, and I said this one. No, actually, I don't think I did end up. I don't think I ended up reviewing Madam Web on this. I was going to, and then I managed to get some guests instead. It's marketed completely wrong. It's not a Spider-Man or Spider-Verse film at all. Like, there is some very, very loose connections because there's some characters, but like it's not a superhero film. Like, it's a premonition film. It's about a woman who can see the future and then has to try and stop the events from happening. It's almost like Final Destination. Concept is very cool. It's marketed completely wrong. But the other thing is, Sony insist on making their Spider-Verse movies as if they're still living in 2002. If this movie came out in 2002, oh my god, people would be going insane over it. They'd be like, "This movie's incredible. It's so different and versatile. We've never seen anything like it before." But we're living in a post-Endgame world, and whilst you don't have to make a movie like Endgame, you need to like bring a bit more substance to it. But
Mm.
that being said, I was able to enjoy it. I thought all the women in it are fantastic. The villain is, I don't know whether he's doing a weird accent, like not an accent, like a weird voice, or whether it's a dub. But all of his dialogue is delivered in the same stilted way. He's just like, "And now we need to get them," like the most basic dialogue in that
Yeah,
gruff
okay.
voice. But the four women are excellent, and Adam Scott, for the brief time he's in, it's really nice to see him on screen and stuff like that. So it's not a chemistry thing. It's not a performance thing. It's just the script sounds like it got changed a lot and it got marketed completely wrong. I think if they marketed it for what the film is, it wasn't going to be the biggest film of the year, but they might have had a bit more traction, a bit more
Mm.
success. But they're
Well,
hell bent on pushing these Spider Verse films, even though there is no whiff of Spider Man in them.
yeah, like I thought she was like a madam of spider webs, but
Mm.
her name's Webb or something, right? Isn't that?
Um,
Isn't she Madam Webb, as in her last name's Webb?
I can't remember now, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, her thing is more like because she can see like the web, like the idea in the comics is she can like see the webs of time, so she can see like beyond,
Ah,
like, so that's what it is like. And in the comics she's like an 80-year-old woman in a wheelchair and stuff like that, but in this movie it's Dakota Johnson.
yeah,
um
fair enough.
yeah, but look, it's not going to make my top 10 list of the year. I'll let you, I can tell you that comfortably right now. um and they did it like and when I will spoil this. I'll spoil, and I think I spoiled it literally in my review when I did an Instagram review the day I saw it. When I say that it's like the marketing is completely wrong, there is a very distinct shot in that trailer of the three Spider Girls wearing spider outfits. That is the
Mm.
only time they wear it in the movie, and it's not even in the storyline. It's in a premonition. Um, and that's what I mean. It's not a
Okay.
Spider Verse film at all. Like, which is a shame because I thought the costumes looked awesome. I was like, I want to see these girls like in spider suits, like doing spider stuff. So anyway, you watched something else that wasn't Madam Web.
I did. I saw Napoleon, which was a late 2023 release.
How is that? I still
Um,
haven't seen Napoleon.
yeah, look, it's a like the word I would use is like it looks sumptuous, like a Ridley Scott um, period piece. Like no expense has been spared, so like it looks incredible, and it's like so epic. Um, I'm just not sure. I think maybe if it had have been a bit smaller in scope and focused on maybe one, so it covers Napoleon. It time hops as Napoleon is like a younger general.
Mm,
It starts with him witnessing the beheading of Marie Antoinette. So as the French Revolution has just happened,
mm,
um, and covers a period of about 15 or so years of him basically rising up the ranks to become the emperor or whatever his rank was. But I think if it just focused on like his rise or his downfall or like the period where he led the French army into Russia, which is a really famous bit of like a failure, a military failure, um, it might have been more. I might have latched onto something, but because it time hops, you as happens with the passing of time, is like characters change, and so Joaquin Phoenix is the constant, and Vanessa Kirby's in it a lot, though she doesn't have a
mm.
lot to do. So it sounded a little bit superficial, maybe I want to
Yeah,
say. Like I felt like I was kind of half the time I was tempted to just pick up my phone because I just wasn't that engaged.
yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
Um, so like it's worth a watch, but I'm not sure I loved it. And then the other film of note that I checked out, which again was another 2023 release, was Anatomy of a Fall. Um,
Oh, I think I remember you talking about this to me. I don't know if we talked about it in the last
I
episode or
think
not.
we would have talked about it, but I only saw it recently, so I wouldn't have reviewed it.
Okay, cool.
But uh, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, I can see why it's up there in a lot of the sort of Academy Award categories. And yeah, fantastic like courtroom drama. I won't go into the plot because I think quite a few people probably wouldn't have seen it. I think it's
Yeah, I haven't
hard to
seen it
get
yet
into
either.
those
I
shows. Yeah,
wanna, I wanna check it out as well. I think it gets released on physical in the next month or so, so I'll probably
yeah.
lap it up then. I
I had to
watched a
do the
couple.
old iTunes download.
I watched a couple of things. I watched Poor Things, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly, because that's in the part of something we're going to talk about.
Did you
But
see that at the cinema?
I did.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
really,
just wasn't sure if it was out somewhere. Yeah,
yeah. It had a very limited. Well, at first it was a limited release, only showing in like Jam Factory and Crown, and then like a week later it expanded a little bit. So,
mm.
um, I saw that after because we did have that's right, we did our best of 2023 episode, you and I'd seen
Mm.
Godzilla minus one, I think at that point, but I hadn't seen Poor Things, and I said to you, I'm sure when Poor Things comes out and I see it, that'll make the list, and 100% it did.
Yeah.
Also, the Wiggles documentary would make my top 10. I thought that Wiggles documentary was fantastic. Um, I watched some other things as well. We won't go into it too much. I watched this Paul Thomas Anderson film from a couple of years ago, Licorice Pizza. You heard this one?
Yeah, yeah, of course I've heard of it. Yeah, did you enjoy it?
It's an interesting flick. I didn't know what to expect. I'm doing a lot of blind buys these days. I'm just going to buy something and check it out. Um, it does a bit of that time hopping thing as well. Like it's all within kind of the same year, but it jumps around quite a bit. And there's not like a linear plot. It's almost kind of like just events
Mm.
in their lives. But I think the performance was really good. I didn't realize it was Philip Seymour Hoffman's kid, and he's so like
Ah,
it. He's so like his dad. Once you realize that, you're like, oh my god, of course it is. And I didn't realize that Alana Haim was from the band Haim. I didn't realize that was her
mm,
either. Um, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting flick. The performances are great. But I also watched it in like 4 or 5 sittings because it was only working in one Blu-ray player in my house. And
mm.
so like when I moved from the bedroom to the lounge room to watch my movies, it wouldn't work on my PlayStation, so it took a little bit longer. But I did enjoy it. Um,
Is
and
that like I find with some PTA films that it's either plot dense or it's a hangout film?
it's a yeah, it's not really like there's. I couldn't tell you what the story is other than like a guy falls in love with an older woman,
Mm.
and this is the adventures of like him kind of pursuing her and her kind of like falling in love with him. But then like
Yeah,
it jumps around, and it's also based on real events, or like because it's kind of set in Hollywood in the 70s, so you see like real life like people playing Hollywood characters,
I
and like
see.
the
Yeah.
way that it's weird. It's a weird flick, but I liked it.
Mm.
And then the other movie I watched was Shiva Baby. I don't know if you've heard of this. Is it Sheva? I can't remember. It's a Jewish word. It's a word for like funeral. I think it's Sheva. But that's what the artwork looks like there. I'll whack it on my camera so you can see. Um, but it's
Oh
got
yeah.
Rachel Sennett, who is kind of an up and coming actress. I've seen her a couple of things now, and I just think she's going to be huge. Like I think like people who are aware of her are aware of how good she is, but she hasn't done anything, I think, massive at this stage. Like she was in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies a couple of years ago. She was in Bottoms last year, which was a really great teen comedy. But it's all about this girl who lives with like she's moved out of her family, out of her family home, and she just broke up with her girlfriend a few months ago, and now she's on like a dating app for sugar daddies. And then like she ends up crossing paths with him at this funeral. So she's with her family, her ex-girlfriend's at the funeral, and this guy she's been hooking up with who turns out to be married with a kid. And it's just like this weird like exercise in black comedic tension. It's like constantly building and building, and like the soundtrack is just like strings, and it's constantly building tension. But it's not like a horror film. But you're just like, oh my god, like everything's gonna go wrong any moment, and she keeps like making all the wrong decisions and like making things worse. It was it's a very short flick, like an hour and 17 minutes. It's very very short. But I thought it was fascinating. A really good flick. So this young woman is going places for sure. She's excellent.
Yeah, I just googled it. It's got someone from Glee as well.
Yeah, she plays. Yeah, she plays the woman who's married to the guy who just like she's the woman getting cheated on. She's great in it actually. I looked her up as well. Yeah, so she was in Glee. Yeah, the whole cast was good. We do have a topic at hand, but you have some stuff you want to talk about as well. So do you want to go through that quickly as well?
I do. Well, I thought timely that we're catching up now to do this because currently it's a Thursday, and on Sunday, or for us, it'll be Monday, is the Academy Awards.
That's right.
Not that I pay too much attention to them, but I do think they're a really good talking point, and that's generally accepted to be the film of the year. So I thought I've got a list of our sort of the top few categories here. I thought might be interesting to go through.
Yeah,
we can have a quick chat about the categories, and I just wouldn't mind a tip from you.
Sure.
Of who you think might take out each category.
100%. I think I did a little bit this on a solo show about a month or so back when they did the first announcements, but I didn't have anyone to talk about it with, so I would love to do it with a human as opposed to just myself in my garage.
Well, I'm actually a bot.
Oh, Nick Bot.
All right, best director. Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall.
I haven't seen it, unfortunately, but
Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon.
Must be a newcomer, that guy.
Nolan, Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. Any thoughts on? I mean, we've spoken about a few of those films, and the rest of them we haven't. I don't think you and I have seen collectively a couple of them, but any thoughts on that? Who do you think is going to win?
I haven't seen Anatomy of a Fall. I haven't seen Zone of Interest. I want to see both of them. I think, look, from a direct, it's tough. I actually, like, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, and this is going to like shock people listening to a podcast by a so-called film snob or former film snob, I don't really know what counts for best directing. Like, because like, did you like, I don't know, like, Kevin Smith, I think, sums it up best where he goes, if you're a good director, like all you have to do is answer questions. So that's your job. Like just answer yes or no most of the time. So like, did he direct good performances? Sure. Did the director or he or she, direct like the sound editor and stuff like that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like how much of it is kind of falls on them? I guess they are like if you had to put in like a business contract, they're the manager. So I guess they are kind of overseeing it all. So you can kind of break it down that way. I think it's probably going to be Nolan. I think it just makes sense to be Nolan. I think it's definitely the favorite. Technically it's probably the most impressive. We talked about Killers of the Flower Moon last year, and I think the most impressive thing about that flick is how un-Scorsese-like it is. Even though it's very much a Scorsese film, it's very different. So that would give it a bit of an edge there. I think Poor Things is going to be an interesting flick to watch because I think it's so weird and challenging for what we normally see in award pitches. I think it's going to get overlooked or misunderstood, and people's like, "That's too weird." But I think that's a well-executed film as well. So the three that I've seen, I think, are all hot contenders. The other two, I'm sure, are brilliant, but I think it's probably going to be Nolan.
I agree. Oppenheimer just has that feel about it this year that it's just going to be that film that comes away with 8 or 10. And quite a few of the main ones.
Yeah.
I will give you a quick quiz as well, a bonus quiz.
Oh, I love a bonus quiz.
You can name the last 5 best directors. I'd be impressed if you can, because I wouldn't have been able to name it. These forget them as soon as it's happened.
I haven't watched the Academy Awards in a long time. I know Bong Joon-ho, I think, won for Parasite.
Correct. That was 2019. That was a good guess.
That's 5 years ago, so I got to fill in the other years, which I don't know if I can. I'm trying to think what came out in the last few years. I could probably not even tell you what films were nominated. Like, I haven't paid attention to the Academy Awards in so long. I'm just trying to think who would have had a movie during that time. Like, which big directors?
I just tell you, you won't get him.
Like, Spielberg didn't win for The Fabelmans, but that film was excellent.
No.
I think he was nominated. I don't think I could tell you a single film that won aside from Bong Joon-ho.
So last year it was the two Daniels for Everywhere.
Oh, of course it was. Of course it was. Yeah.
And then the year before that was Jane Campion.
What did she direct?
The Dog.
Oh, I still haven't seen that. Yeah.
Pretty good, actually. I'd recommend it. Then before that, it was Chloe Zhao for Nomadland.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either.
Then it was Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. And then the year before that, the answer I was looking for was our old friend Alfonso Cuarón for Roma.
Yeah. I want to see Roma, but I believe there's infant death in that movie, and that's been putting me off for a while, being a father of a young child. But I do. Apparently, it's like a real like tearjerker. But yeah, so I had heard of all of them, but yeah, I wouldn't have picked them. I should have picked Everything Everywhere All at Once, though. You're in agreement? You think it's gonna be Nolan as well?
I do. I think Yorgos is a good. I haven't seen Poor Things, but just like from what I hear, I feel like it'll either be Justine Triet, Nolan, or Yorgos would be my guess, but probably Nolan.
Yeah.
I mean, the man like created a mini atomic bomb for a movie. What more do you want?
It's it's funny. Like just recently, he came out saying that the next genre, one of the genres he'd like to work on soon, is horror, which was funny because when we had our conversation about Nolan, I said, what do you want to see him do next? And I said horror, and you guys were like, oh, maybe. Like, what would he do? And like then I was like, yes, affirmed. But then someone commented that like, well, I don't know if I do want him to do horror because he'll probably just try and really create zombies because he does it to avoid using CGI. And I was like, that's a good point. I like that joke a lot. What is the next category, my friend?
Okay, Academy Award for Best Actress in a Supporting Role, and the nominees are Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer.
Yep.
Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. America Ferrera for Barbie. Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Now, I'll preface this and say I haven't seen a lot of these films, so I'm going to say probably the films that I've seen are Oppenheimer and Barbie, and I just didn't think Emily Blunt had enough to do. She had a really great scene in Oppenheimer, so I probably would have to say America Ferrera.
I'm gonna swing the opposite. I think that she gave a very Hannibal Lecter performance, where it's like he was only in the movie for 13 minutes and got the best actor. And I think that she does a lot with very little. Like to see the different shades and colors she puts in that film. Like she doesn't get a lot of time on there, but seeing her kind of be this strong, kind of physicist or kind of scientific mind, then to this kind of wretched, falling apart housewife who can't handle being a mother, to then being this stoic kind of betrayed wife, betrayed not just by her husband but by the country as well, and then to kind of have this very kind of victorious speech. I think there's a lot done with very little time. I think America Ferrera has a great speech in Barbie as well. But controversially, and I know people are going to hate me for this, I don't know whether Barbie is. I don't know what. Like, I think there's some things about Barbie that are fantastic that are Academy Award worthy. I don't know whether like it. I'm wondering. Oh, this is dangerous territory. I feel like it's being nominated more for what it represents than for what it is. I think it's an excellent film, and I think like set design and music and even cinematography. There's a lot of things there. I think all the performances are good in there, but like I don't know whether, like I don't know. But you know what? Who am I to say? That's just my opinion. Who am I to say that it's not worthy of it? I think that America Ferrera is great, and America Ferrera I think really is the heart of that movie. Like it's kind of her story. Like she had that. I'm just remembering that speech now, and I'm like, you know, actually, it's a really good speech. Like as I'm talking, I'm remembering, it is a really, really good speech and a really important speech as well. I just think Emily Blunt probably has the edge, just in terms of what she did, considering how much screen time she had as well. I think if you take that in consideration, she achieved a lot. But I
But
wouldn't
feel
be.
like there's
Yeah.
an asterisk next to our tips for this category because, to be honest, I just haven't seen.
Yeah.
I know who I want to win, Jodie Foster for Naiad. I just because I love Jodie Foster, and I think she needs to be in more things, and she needs a second Academy Award to just.
So it's got a buddy on the shelf. It's got a friend.
Yeah, that's right. No, but like I think she's too good to only have one. Like, pivot to TV for a second, but the new season of True Detective just finished recently, and she is just so incredible in that. She's just so kick-ass. So yeah, more power to Jodie Foster. But yeah,
anyway. To JFO, as they call her.
Okay, same quiz. I'll be amazed at if you can get the last 5 best supporting actresses, because I had forgotten most of these.
Yeah,
just any, I'll be impressed.
Consider I haven't seen any of those films. Well, I'd seen Parasite, but I can't remember the actress who plays the mum's name in that. But I don't know if she was nominated. I would hope that whole cast was nominated. Nomadland I haven't seen, so I couldn't tell you who's in that. I haven't seen Power of the Dog. I know that old Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, but that's about all I remember from that one.
So last year it was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, you know what? I do remember that because I also know, and I can answer. I remember the other nominees. I know the 2 men from last year.
Okay.
I forgot about Jamie Lee, because it was a year of comebacks. It was a year of like people coming back and getting. So yeah, I do remember that. Of course, it was Jamie Lee. Sorry, go on.
And then 2021, it was Ariana DeBose. I hope I'm saying that right, for West Side Story, which I never watched.
Yeah, I never watched either.
Remake. The year before that was Yoo Jun Young for Minari. Then in 2019, it was Laura Dern for Marriage Story.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen Marriage Story.
And then going back to 2018, it was Regina, or if you're Dwight, Regina King. If Beale Street could talk.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen If Beale Street. I haven't seen these awards pitch, like most of these awards pitches, and not fully because I'm not interested. I just like and this is, I think, one of the biggest flaws with the Academy Awards is I don't mind it nominating films that people haven't seen. Like I think that's actually really good. I think it's great they're shedding light on it, but then there's no follow up with the distributors or like the streaming services. Like there's no like, hey, this movie won Best Picture. Let's not release it anywhere. Like, what a dumb idea. Like, honestly, like, here's what the Academy needs to do, and maybe they're doing it already. I don't know. What the Academy needs to do is just like you get like the artists get Oscar screeners. I think to engage the audience, it's time to do like Oscar streaming from November through to February or something, and you pay a fee. Not a huge fee, like just like a fee if you're interested, and you can watch all the Oscars, and then they're all accessible. You can just watch them.
I agree. The problem is like some of these still haven't had release dates in Australia. So
yeah,
like 100%. We're making predictions having not seen half of them. So
100%. It's like that sort of that's what bugs me most about the Oscars is I don't mind them shedding light on these films. I mean, look, there's definitely there's money involved, and like some Oscars are bought, and like some things some people win awards or some things win awards because there's an agenda. But for the most part, it is a really great opportunity to shed some light, on some movies that otherwise we wouldn't have heard of. But make them available. Like instead of removing DVDs and Blu-rays from shelves, put more stuff out there or make it available to people somewhere. And don't put it on 20 different streaming services. Just have it in one place. Like anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah.
All right, moving on. Best actor in a supporting role. Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. This new guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, Rob De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon.
He's got a big career ahead of him, old Bobby D.
Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things.
This is supporting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So I think Sterling K. Brown, I didn't see American Fiction, but I think everyone else I did see. So we got Robert De Niro, we've got Ryan Gosling, we've got Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting. I think that, first of all, the 4 performances I have seen are all excellent. I think they're all great. I don't think it's Ryan Gosling. I don't think he gets it. Like, I think he's a fantastic actor, and he's been. I just rewatched Crazy Stupid Love the other day. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's so good, and he's great in it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I went on a bit of a Steve Carell kick actually a few weeks ago. I watched that. I watched Little Miss Sunshine, and I watched The Way Back, and I was just like, "This is what a blessing Steve Carell is."
The Way Back is like a real like hidden gem, isn't it?
Oh, so it definitely is. And again, Sam Rockwell, like dancing away, doing his thing. So I don't think it's Ryan Gosling. I think it's probably between Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo. I think it's like between the Hulk and Iron Man.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree. Sorry. I thought you said Robert Downey Jr., but my brain heard Robert De Niro. But
yeah,
listen, I think Robert De Niro was incredible in Killers, but I don't think he was doing anything like new and like it was kind of like Dial of De Niro kind of thing, like which is still amazing.
I agree. I think he is in the reverse situation of Emily Blunt. I think he had lots of screen time, but not a lot to do with it. Like he was just there being, and that's not a criticism of his performance. He's fantastic in everything he does. He's wonderful. He's global treasure Robert De Niro. But for the amount of screen time he got, like he just kind of was menacing.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be between Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo because they both put in performances that are so unlike what we've seen either of them do for the last 15, 20 years. And obviously a big part of their careers have been dominated by the Marvel universe. But like Mark Ruffalo was a rom-com guy. And like Robert Downey Jr. has always done a lot of comedy, not comedy kind of like Beverly Hills Cop comedy, but more kind of like everything's very tongue in cheek with him. And this was him playing a much more grounded, serious role. And he occupies my favorite part of that movie. Like I love Oppenheimer from start to finish. For the last hour, all that trial stuff is where it's most interesting to me, and a big part of that is to Robert Downey Jr. And then Mark Ruffalo somehow manages to be unlikable. Like who would have thought? Like America's sweetheart at 50 years old, like could be so unlikable and unpleasant in Poor Things. Like he's so horrid in that. I think Robert Downey Jr. takes the win. Although honestly, it's probably we haven't seen American Fiction. Probably Sterling K. Brown take the win. Like he's probably the one who's going to win. But of the ones I've seen, I think it's Robert Downey Jr. But Mark Ruffalo would be a very close second.
I concur. Haven't seen Poor Things, so I can't comment on that. But I just think it's time. Robert Downey Jr. services to cinema. It's time for him to just get something.
I think the last time Robert Downey Jr. was nominated for Best Actor, he was playing an African American man in Tropic Thunder. Like that's the last time he was nominated for.
Times have changed, haven't they?
I'll tell you what, I rewatched Tropic Thunder last year, and it holds up. Like it's crazy how good that movie is.
It's time for your traditional quiz.
It's Ke Huy Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor last year.
Yep.
There are 4 more. I can't remember the rest. I can't remember the movies.
So Troy Kotzer for Coda, which is a film I did not see. The year before that, it was Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah.
That's right. I never saw that flick. It never got released here, I don't think.
And then it was one of the director for the film was one of our own here, a film snob favorite, which was Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, did he win? I didn't watch the Oscars, so there you go. Oh, good on him.
Yeah. And then
really, he won. Surely wasn't like Gosling or Harrison Ford up against him for Blade Runner that year?
Oh, I think Blade Runner is like 2017 or something.
Oh, maybe I'm getting confused. I remember I saw both of them at the cinema in Churnside Park, and I thought they were on the same time. Really? Like he's good in that movie, but like Really? Like, I'm a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah.
Anyway, good on him.
And then in 2018, it was Mahershala for The Green Book.
Oh, what a brilliant flick that is! Is he the supporting actor in that? I would have. I guess.
Isn't Vigo the lead?
I guess Vigo is the lead. Yeah, I would kind of almost put them. I guess. Yeah, like it is more his story, even though it shouldn't be. Yeah, I guess
I
you're
don't know
right.
how they. Sometimes it's a bit like murky how they determine which performance is the lead versus which is the supporting.
Yeah, yeah. Like, who's the lead actor in Fellowship of the Ring?
Yeah.
None of them. Maybe Elijah Wood gets the nose a little bit because he's front and center on the
Billy
poster.
Boyd.
Billy Boyd. Alrighty, what's our next category?
I'm keeping us moving. We have got Best Actress in a Leading Role, and the people are Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. I think this is probably the best category I've seen in quite a long time.
It's a strong one. I've only seen 2 of the flicks, so I can't comment on the others. But Carey Mulligan is always great. Annette Bening is always great. Who was the other? So I've seen Lily Gladstone. I've seen.
Emma Stone. And so the last one was Sandra Hüller, who I hadn't seen before, but she was from Anatomy of a Fall.
Okay.
And I think she's the sneaky chance. I think that that the number one seed here,
it's got to be Lily Gladstone.
Has to be Lily Gladstone. She's like the emotional heartbeat of one of the more grim films.
I think, like, if there's any justice in the world, and again, I haven't seen the film, so I can only go by what I have seen. If there's any justice in the world, she probably has to take it. Now, do I prefer her performance to Emma Stone's? I probably don't. I actually think that, like, when Emma Stone won for La La Land a few years ago, I don't know if I agreed with that. And even she said when she won the award, she's like, guys, I'm not ready yet. Like, why did I shouldn't have won this. It's too early for me. I think the performance she gave in Poor Things is the one that she probably should have been her first big award. But considering she's already got one, I say give it to Lily Gladstone. But I think Emma Stone is excellent in Poor Things. It's but Lily Gladstone is as well. I think I think it has to be her. I think if there's any justice, it has to be Lily Gladstone. She's fantastic as well.
Yeah, so I think that Lily Gladstone is probably my favorite performance. Could be my favorite performance out of anyone actually this year in a film. But Sandra Hüller is doing something so subtle and at the same time like complex, like the ambiguity that Sandra Hüller, and I'm just so sorry, Sandra, because I'm really butchering your last name.
I really like the emphasis you're putting in there. It's great.
Because there's an umlaut in above the U, okay, and I don't know what that means. Yeah, so I think that Lily Gladstone should be the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sandra Hüller takes it out as well. Okay, James, over to you. Last 5.
So last year was Michelle Yeoh. She won Best Actress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of anyone else. I'm trying to think of any other films in the last couple of years. I want to say Frances McDormand, but I think that was 2017. I think it was 2018.
I'll tell you what, she's a bloody legend, and you got it right. She won in 2017, but she also won in 2020.
And Olivia Colman for 2018 for The Favourite?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So you're missing 2.
Do you know what? Do you know what it is? It's because Michelle Yeoh, obviously that was a huge moment for her. But for the other 2, I remember Frances McDormand and Olivia Colman giving excellent speeches. That's why I remember, because they gave such fantastic speeches. I didn't remember the 2020 one, but I remember the 2017 one. There was someone else that gave there was another rousing speech. It seems to be all the actresses doing. Did Meryl win in the last 5 years? Meryl Streep? No.
So you're missing in 2021, Jessica Chastain won for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I have not seen.
I haven't seen either.
And in 2019, Renee Zellweger won for
That's
Judy.
right, for Judy. That's right. Yeah, that's when she had her new look, and everyone, because she looks significantly different. There you go. I did much better with that one. That was pretty good.
You nailed it, man. Well done. All right, moving on. Best actor in a leading role. Old Bradley Cooper for Maestro.
Mm-hmm.
Holman Domingo for Rustin. Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. Cillian/Killian Murphy for Oppenheimer. Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction.
So I've only seen Oppenheimer out of all of these. However, I think it's Giamatti. I think it's his time. Even having not even seen Holdovers, everything I've heard about the film, everything I've heard about him, like just the tracking he's done, and like that's no slight against Cillian Murphy. Like what he achieves in that flick is nothing short of genius. Like he's so brilliant in it. It's really interesting because both he and Giamatti, I would say, have for a big part of their careers been character actors. Cillian Murphy obviously he led Peaky Blinders for a couple of years. I haven't seen a lot of that, but I know he led that. And he has played leads before, but he's often in these larger scale films more of a side character, more of a background character, kind of like he doesn't always take front and center. Certainly not a big picture like this. I know he was the lead in 28 Days Later, but this is very different to that. Like in other Nolan stuff, he's always been a side character. Maybe the biggest role he had in a Nolan film previously was maybe Inception. That was quite a big role for him. But then Giamatti, like again, it's an unknown because I haven't seen it, but I just feel like maybe. And again, I said like other things come into play when it comes to winning. Like there's agendas and politics and stuff like that. I feel like maybe because he's a bit older and he hasn't yet made maybe it's Giamatti's time. But it could go either way. I think maybe Giamatti. I've heard a lot more about it, but I would be happy with any of them winning.
I would also be, even though I haven't seen American Fiction, I love Jeffrey Wright. So
yeah, he's
I would
great.
not be upset with Jeffrey Wright.
That's right, yeah.
But I've seen Maestro and Bradley Cooper's great, but I just don't think it's like, I'd just be surprised if he won for that. I haven't seen The Holdovers, although I've got it sitting in my iTunes ready to go. So I do think it's probably between Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. I'm going to tip Cillian Murphy just because I think Oppenheimer's got so much momentum, and so that'll be my tip. But I think anyone in there would be a worthy winner of that.
100%. I would say, I think that the actress category is the strongest we've looked at so far, but that actor category is quite strong as well. Good pedigree of talent. Yeah.
Okay, mate. Over to you.
Brendan Fraser won last year for The Whale. I just rewatched The Whale a couple of weeks ago, and man, that flick is so good.
I just feel like it's going to be really sad, which is why I haven't seen it.
It is sad, but like, it is sad. I don't want to say it is sad, but like, I don't know, it's well done, and like, it was just so nice to see Brendan Fraser in a leading role again, like to see him on screen. And he's so charming in it, even though he probably shouldn't be. No, I loved him in that. Let me think back. The last couple of years, who else could have won?
Well,
was it Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog? Did he win for that?
If you don't get the one from 2001, I'm going to slap you.
2001?
2021.
You're gonna slap me? Is that like a hint?
Yeah.
Oh, of course it was Will Smith. That's right.
It was Will Smith.
I forgot that Oscars. I think that was the last Oscars I watched. I think that like I didn't realize at the time, but that whole incident left such a bad taste in my mouth that I think that was one of the, like, it's so weird that of all things would do it, but like that really, we'd come, not to say that it's over, but we were coming out the other side of Me Too. Like Hollywood had kind of had to own up to all its mistakes and kind of horrible skeletons in its closet. And again, it was like, all right, we've done the right thing. We've put the bad guys away. We're working on being progressive. And then something like that happens. and they're like, well, we'll let him get his award, and then then he's punished, and it's like, no, dude, like just yeah. And look, it affects me in no way whatsoever, but it really bummed me out. And that was the last time I think I watched the Oscars. And I haven't really watched much Will Smith stuff since then either. I think I watched Men in Black, and I was like, okay, I can handle this because But
yeah, I don't know. I agree. It just leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth, doesn't it?
yeah.
Okay.
I think
The year before that,
I think we talked about it on the podcast. I think it was one of the first episodes we did together. We talked about it. Because it would have been really fresh in our minds because we started recording in 2022. So yeah. Anyway, the year before that
was Sir Anthony Hopkins for The Father.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
The year before that, you probably should have gotten, was Joaquin Phoenix for the Joker or Joker.
Oh, he did too, didn't he? Yeah.
And then the year before that was Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't a huge fan of Bohemian Rhapsody. I thought it was I thought it was a well-made film and it was entertaining, but I do think that like it's very overhyped. Like people just losing their minds for it. Like people seen that movie like 6 times in theaters, and I watched it. I'm like, have you guys seen movies before? Like this is just one of them movies. Like yeah.
All right, let's go, mate. We're up to the big one. Best Picture.
Best Picture. And before we do, sorry, are there any kind of omissions? Is like we've gone through a few categories now. Do you feel there's anything that's kind of like boldly missing from the?
Look, I haven't honestly just didn't watch enough films last year to have a strong opinion on that. So probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I don't know. I think my biggest gripe was with the animated section. I was looking at the animated films, and there were some really great foreign animation films that made it into it, which I was really happy with. But like, and they nominated Across the Spider-Verse, and I haven't seen Elemental, and I've got nothing against Elemental, but I was just like, really, like every year we're going to nominate a Disney film, like. And the reason I was annoyed is because like Ninja Turtles didn't get nominated, but I would argue that Ninja Turtles was the most visually interesting animated film that came out last year, more so even than Across the Spider-Verse, and that has a bunch of different animation styles. But I've never seen anything like Ninja Turtles. You're telling me you couldn't give it a nod for anything, but instead we're going to do like I've been watching a lot of Disney and Pixar stuff lately because of Zoe. I mean, I would have watched it anyway, but Zoe's showing a lot of interest in it. And like every single character design is the same. Like they're all round and shiny and smooth. I'm like, that's cool. And like it's such a distinct style and it works for them. But are we gonna like I don't want to say reward mediocrity because it's not mediocrity, but it is almost like complacency. It's like, oh, we're just gonna keep doing the same visual styles. Like, but you can do anything. Like unlike live action where you're limited by the shapes of human bodies, like you can literally draw anything in any style you want and you're doing it the same way every single time. That was the one that bummed me out a little bit. Again, no ill will towards Elemental. I haven't seen it, but I was like, well, it's okay if Disney doesn't get nominated every year. Like, yeah. And I know like people were kind of annoyed about Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie not getting nominated, which again, like I've got really mixed feelings about that Barbie film. I think Barbie is a really great film. I just don't know whether like I think like the message of the film and the politics behind the film are a lot more important and maybe stronger than the film itself. And that's not to say it's a bad film. It's a wonderful film. I really, really liked it. I just think that I think it's tough when you start talking about movies with messages and like anyway. Not tough to talk about them, but tough to be like I think that like like since you watch a movie like this is a really important film, but just because it's important, the story's important, doesn't mean it fits into kind of the other categories that things are being nominated for. I don't know. I just feel like this episode's a mess. I'm just gonna get so much hate after this episode.
It's gonna be the final episode of.
I got so many international guests lined up.
I was scrolling down and best makeup and hairstyling. I think Maestro should win that.
Yeah.
What they do with both Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan is incredible.
Yep.
Shout out to Carey Mulligan. She's great.
Was she Promising Young Woman? Is that Carey Mulligan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she was also in Saltburn, which is by the same director. Promising Young Woman is such a great film. So is Saltburn, actually. A little bit shocked to say that didn't get any love at all.
Best bathtub scene. All right. Best picture, James. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest.
Quite a few I haven't seen. I really want to see Zone of Interest. I really want to see Past Lives. Past Lives was on Amazon for about 3 weeks. I didn't realize it was a limited run, so I kept putting it off, and then it got removed. I was like, "You're kidding me!" Like,
Wait,
now
which one was that?
Past Lives.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Anatomy of a Fall. It won't be Killers. It won't be Barbie. I mean, it could be, but I just don't think it will. For me, for the flicks I have seen, I think Oppenheimer is the one that will win. I think it's just got so much behind it. It's got so much traction. I think it's a safe choice, and that doesn't mean it's a bad choice. But I think it's a safe choice because, like, universally, that flick was loved. It was respected. Like, you didn't hear bad reviews about it on every different aspect of a film you can possibly monitor. It excels. So I feel like that's the safe choice. It's the obvious choice. However, personally, the best film of 2023 for me was Poor Things.
Mm-hmm. I think that's got a pretty good chance. I also think Oppenheimer is just the film to beat. It's swept every other award.
It's Titanic. It's Return of the King. It's like it's a powerhouse.
Exactly.
Like, and also, like, Nolan won before? He hasn't, has he?
No, he hasn't.
No, like, he's well overdue. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's certainly due. And I think Yorgo might have won a couple of years ago for The Favorite. I can't remember now. I guess you'll tell me in a moment when we go through the final thing. But Yorgo, but he's made a lot less films. He's been on the scene a lot. He's got time to do it. But I think this is his best film, Poor Things. Although Dogtooth is excellent.
I think that The Holdovers, I could see that winning.
Yep.
Some individual awards, but I don't know if it'll be in the running for Best Picture. For me, I think it's probably going to be between Poor Things, The Zone of Interest, and Oppenheimer.
Well, Zone of Interest and Oppenheimer, both World War II films. You know, that always tends to do quite well at the Oscars.
I'm not sure that. Again, Anatomy of a Fall, I could see Sandra Hüller winning. But I'm just not sure. This is just my opinion. I'm just not sure it's good enough to win Best Picture. But then I'm happy to be proven wrong. There, it was very good. All right, mate. Over to you.
So last year, Best Director. I'm guessing it was Daniels.
What's the Best Picture?
Best Picture. Oh, sorry. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes,
was Best Picture last year. Nomadland, I believe, was Best Year. It was Best Picture of the year. It came out as well, along with the nomination for Chloe Zhao. The Favorite, I believe, was Best Picture in 2018. I think.
No,
it wasn't.
No.
Did Power of the Dog win Best Picture?
No.
No, interesting. 2021, I think, is the year that I missed it. Or 2021, 22, I have no idea.
2021, and I don't mean to sound like I'm just gonna shit on a film here, is the reason the Academy Award just doesn't really. I don't pay much attention to them, and it doesn't really speak for me anymore. So Coda won Best Picture, and
that's right.
I just think it's I don't know. When was the last time you spoke about Coda with anyone? These films, they're not films that people love en masse. It's I don't know. Coda, to me, take it or leave it. Anyway, so Coda won in 2021, and then it was Nomadland the year before, which she was spot on. Then in 2019 was Parasite.
That's right. Of course it was.
And then the year before that was Green Book.
And what was? Oh no, we talked about that. Never mind. Oh, Green Book. Yeah, Green Book was great.
And then the year before that was The Shape of Water. Again, I don't know anyone who's spoken about that film in the last 5 years.
I love The Shape of Water. I actually do talk about it quite a bit, but I haven't watched it in a long time. I think I've only seen it once. I do own it. I've got to watch it again, actually. I keep thinking about that movie. It's such a strange, wonderful movie. But yeah. Nice. We spent quite a bit of time there talking about the Oscars in the end, but I think no, it was a good idea to do it because I didn't get a chance. I haven't had a chance to really speak to anyone about it because most people don't care. So I'm like, and I guess I don't really care either, but I'll still talk about it. I still like to talk about this sort of stuff. So no, it was a good idea. Should we move forward and talk about some movies that you like?
We should because it's getting late.
Yeah, we started hanging out about 2 hours ago. We've been recording for over an hour already, and we haven't touched the topic at all. So we're doing our favorite movies from the 2000s. So Nick Owen, I know you'll be a long-awaited contributor. I know people love hearing you talk about movies and lists, and I imagine for you, actually, I don't have to imagine because you messaged me earlier today, that this has been one of the more challenging lists that we've done so far because, as we were saying before, just the scope of movies that came out.
Oh yeah, like I reckon I've got somewhere in the vicinity of like 30 honorable mentions. Like, as we were kind of talking about before, this is the decade where I sort of started to see like every movie that I wanted to see as it came out. So you just see a lot more films rather than going backwards and you're just picking out like a curated list of best films. And I was just thinking about the 2000s as a decade, and I'd be keen to hear it. So I had some reflections on it. I'd be keen to get your thoughts, whether you agree, disagree.
Go
I
for it.
know my first thought you might say, "Oh, look, they've had comic book films in the '90s and stuff like that," but I definitely thought it was like the comic book or franchise boom. So
100%. I've actually said this on every episode. Like, this decade was so unique because you open with, like, if you're a genre fan, like, this is your decade because it opens with Spider-Man and X-Men
X-Men,
and the Matrix. Matrix 99, but then you get the other two flicks early
yeah, you
2000s.
get Harry
You get
Potter.
Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. At the end of the decade, you close with The Dark Knight and Iron Man. And then, like, you have all this weird stuff in the middle. Like, you have the kind of the formation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You get Batman Begins. We get Nolan. Like, Nolan debuts in the 2000s. If you're a horror fan, like, it is the decade of remakes. Every classic 80s horror film you can think of gets remade in the 2000s. And then you get stuff like, like American Beauty. Like, you get the evolution of the sex comedy. You go from American Pie to 40-Year-Old Virgin, and then suddenly, like, the Apatow era of comedy begins. Like, there's so much going on in the decade. Like, good luck to anyone trying to pick just five.
Yeah, and like a few more observations. Like I would say that definitely my list here that I've curated for this podcast would not have been my top five films like as we went through the decade, or if we did this in 2010 at the end of the decade. So it's a reflection on how my taste has changed. But I also think that this is probably the last, and you could probably see this kind of attitude phased out over the decade we're going to talk about. I feel like this is the last non all knowing and cynical movie decade we had. I feel like the 2000 and the teens, whatever we're going to call that,
2010s?
The 2010s. Thank you. We'd already seen everything, so everything was like there was a nod. Everything was so
Yeah.
self-aware and self-referential.
That's when cinema became meta.
Yeah, and so you kind of get things that you look back on now, and we maybe cringe a little bit. But we were just a simpler people back in like 2003. Like we hadn't seen everything, we hadn't done everything, and we didn't have, like, the internet was, still growing. So you didn't dissect everything over and over again like you do now. And then I think as well, it's probably the, I won't say the end of, but we certainly don't get as many of those mid-range non-franchise films, as you said, like an American Beauty. Like, I'm trying not to spoil any of my top five, but like Gladiator would be an example, or
Gladiator's
The
coming back
Patriot.
this year, so
The Patriot with like Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger
and Jason Isaacs, or like,
yeah.
well, the example I've been using is that, like, in the 2000s, like, every couple of years you get like a $30 million like J-Lo rom-com or like Kate Hudson rom-com, and it's like they don't make those anymore. Like, they really make rom-coms, like, and I think the pandemic just has a lot to do with it. I was talking about this earlier in the year with someone, but it's like someone. Actually, I think it was the guys from Movie Bonus who I did that video for. They were saying how like we haven't had a good comedy in 15 years. And I was like, well, that's not true. Like, we had like 15 years. Like that takes us back to 2010, and we had a couple of great Apatow comedies. Up until 2013, 2014, and then we had things like Mike and Dave did Wedding Dates and Pop Star and stuff. But then the pandemic hit, and all the studios are interested in making is movies that are going to get people out of their houses, out of fear, into the cinema. And to do that, you need Spider-Man, you need Star Wars, you need Indiana Jones. Well, that didn't quite. I don't think a lot of people went to see Indiana Jones, but they should have. It was fun.
Well, I think comedies are now they're made by streamers to keep people on the platform. Like things like Palm Springs is a great comedy.
Oh my god, that was one of my favorite flicks of that year. Palm Springs is an excellent movie.
Like that's the kind of thing where it's like, you sort of like, it's Netflix churn out their comedies to just keep people subscribed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I also think that like people's standards for comedy have changed because comedy is always evolving, and we're always like our kind of what we find funny is always changing as well. But like when people kind of come after Adam Sandler for doing all the Netflix stuff, and now admittedly I haven't watched any of his Netflix stuff, but I also haven't watched an Adam Sandler film probably since the 2000s. But it's like he can't keep running around doing the Billy Madison voice his entire life. Like he can't do that. He's got to keep like he's a family man now. In fact, now he's not even a family man. I think he's pushing 60. Like what you want? Like, do you really want 60-year-old Adam Sandler running around doing the Billy Madison voice? Of course you don't. Like the fact that he's doing.
I would just like to see it just once though.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. Like, but we got to see him do Uncut Gems, and like now he's got the Spaceman just came out, I think, which I haven't seen yet, but I think like comedy is always changing and stuff like that, and it's I don't know how to explain it. Like, comedy is a lot harder than people realize. People think that comedy is like an easy genre because you just get up and tell jokes, but it's like it's not. There's a lot more to it than that. Like, especially now because there's more access to content than ever before. Like everyone has an opinion as well. So if you're not laughing in the first 30 seconds, it's written off as garbage. So yeah. But I think comedy's coming back. Like No Strings Attached, No Hard Feelings from last year. Really fun film. Anyone But You, I really enjoyed. The one with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I'm here for all those like kind of small. Like I want more small comedies. Like bring them back. Let's do it. You and me. Let's do it right now. There we go. Laugh in less than 30 seconds. We're on our way. Oh, second one.
All right.
Okay. Let's jump.
Before
Did
I
you
get
have more
into
thoughts?
No. I was going to say before I get into my top 5. What do you think? Give me. I just want some predictions. I won't confirm any if you pick films, but like, what do you think what kind of flavor do you think I have in my top 5?
I feel. Look, I don't know how you're going to approach it. Whether you're going to repeat stuff you've talked about in the past, or we've talked about on the show before, or whether you're going to go.
It's a really good point. I have tried really hard to like keep films out of here that we've talked about, or like we always talk about, like when we always do like our top films.
Yeah.
So you won't see some. I've kept out or omitted some really obvious ones. So I've tried to keep this a list of films we haven't really spoken about much previously. So,
like, if I had to kind of put some films out there, and again, like you do not need to confirm them at this point. I feel like something Nolan's going to be there, and I feel like Batman's too obvious. So I feel like something like Prestige or Inception could be on there. I feel like Collateral by Michael Mann could be on there. I feel like we've talked about Inglourious Basterds a lot, so that's probably not going to show up. I feel like something like Zodiac could possibly pop up. Like that's a Fincher film. I feel like Lord of the Rings. We've talked about that quite a bit, so that might not show up either. But that would be something that I would expect on there. I'm not expecting. I think for the first time of this kind of focus, this kind of decade focus, I think it's going to be the first list with next to no comedies on it. I don't think we're going to see a lot of funny stuff. I could be very wrong, but you tend to go. Your style of your kind of big passion in film is very grand and driven and big scope and like big ideas. I don't think I could be wrong because I didn't know you in the 2000s. You might be like, oh man, I love Talladega Nights, just like Christopher Nolan does.
Yeah, well, spoiler: Shallow Hal is definitely my number one film. So.
I honestly don't know. Like, I'm just picking out flicks that I know either we've talked about or feel like you would like, but I don't know. Like, you always surprise me with your list as well. So,
wow, shall we see how well you know me?
Let's dive in to Mumbo number 5.
All right. So, my fifth film from the 2000s is There Will Be Blood. 2007 masterpiece from Paul Thomas Anderson.
PTA himself.
PTA indeed. Starring Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano. I'm sure there's some others. It's a pretty big cast, so I'm definitely forgetting some. But I would say that There Will Be Blood is a perfect example of a movie that would not have featured on this list if I did this at the end of the decade we're talking about. It's a slow burn. It's really dark. And I think it took a bit of distance for me. This was a film that, you know what it's like when you get it like rammed down your throat about how good a film is. So this is a film that took me a while to come to, and I just think it's a masterpiece. It's a film where there is no dialogue for the first 15 or so minutes of the film.
I was going to talk about that. It's just that like high pitch. It's almost like the opening of Dark Knight. It's that high pitch like whining. It's just like very unsettling.
Very unsettling, like violin kind of score, and it really just depicts the dark side of the birth of modern America. So Daniel Day-Lewis plays an oil prospector.
Daniel Plainview,
who strikes with his son HW Plainview, by the way, strikes oil, becomes very wealthy, and then sets about trying to take over other people's land. It's a very very broad overview of that film, but it's a genuine masterpiece, and I would really recommend it. Do you have any thoughts on There Will Be Blood, James?
It's that would not have been my first introduction to Daniel Day-Lewis, but I still, of the performances of his that I've seen, and there are many I still haven't seen, I think it's one of his most interesting performances. To be so bloodthirsty, to be so kind of vicious, paired up with that voice, it's such a weird dynamic. Like, because like, spoiler alert for a 17-year-old movie, this movie can almost get its license. That's how old it is. But like, the film ends with him beating someone's head in with a bowling ball or a bowling pin.
Pin, I think.
And to signal the end of the film, he just goes, "I'm finished." And
I'm finished.
And then obviously, like, you can't talk about this film without talking about, I drink your milkshake, I drink it up. Like, that's borderline Bane there. I'm going off kilter a little bit, but
there is just to me the scene that sums up how electric this film is and the chemistry that Paul Thomas Anderson's concocted here is the scene in the church where Paul Dano is like slapping him and he's like, "I've abandoned my boy."
Yeah.
It is just unbelievable. I've
abandoned my child. Paul Dano, I was talking about this either on a podcast or on Instagram recently. Might be one of my all-time favorite actors. He just doesn't get, no one talks about him. Like, they talked about him after Batman. Like, they got some acknowledgement there. But like, have you seen a bad Paul Dano performance? He's so unassuming. You don't I think because like, he's just like this kind of like sweet looking round faced boy with shaggy hair. You just kind of like, who is this shaggy haired sweet boy? But like Little Miss Sunshine is almost an entirely non-verbal performance, and he's brilliant in it. Like Ruby Sparks, he's fantastic. Like, just everything he does, like, the guy's excellent, and holds his own against Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, no easy feat. That's a great first. I haven't seen it in a little while, so I'm a little bit sketchy on the details. I remember some of the big points, obviously, but that's a strong entry to your 2000s list.
All right. Number 4.
Mumbo number 4.
Number 4, sorry, is a great example of what I would have classified, a little insight into my childhood, as like a Saturday night rental. Like, you get it and you're the whole family sitting around watching it. And that is 2000's Cast Away, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring the great Tom Hanks. Honestly, this is still one of my favorite movies. Like, I could just watch Tom Hanks all day, and that's a good thing because this basically on screen alone for most of the film, and it's just Tom Hanks at the height of his powers. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows what Castaway is about, but brief overview. So, Hanks plays I don't know if he's like an executive or he works for FedEx, the shipping company, and he's on a shipping flight, and it goes down somewhere in the Pacific, and he washes up on an island, and they obviously think that he's dead, so he's there for a couple of years. It's just an astonishing Tom Hanks performance. I can't believe that he didn't win an Oscar for this movie.
That was 2000.
Short on those. Yeah.
Did Kevin Spacey win for American Beauty?
Geez, good question. I got my laptop here. I'll say something about Castaway and I'll Google it.
Oh, I can't. I haven't seen Castaway.
Oh, okay. You can Google it.
I mean, there's a bull named Wilson. He's pretty cool. It's just one of those films I've never gotten around to. I've always wanted to watch it. Let me see.
I'm actually impressed you've made it 24 years without seeing it.
Best Actor 2000. Maybe it was Nicolas Cage.
Was Denzel Washington for Training Day?
No, it was Kevin Spacey.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, not bad memory there for me. I couldn't do the last 5 years, but I could do 2000. Why doesn't it tell me who they were? Angelina Jolie won for Girl Interrupted. That was that kind of like, Kevin Spacey, American Beauty. Your mate Thomas Hanks himself wasn't even nominated.
Travesty.
Although maybe it should have been 2001. Maybe that's what I need to look at. Let's have a look. Denzel Washington was nominated for The Hurricane in 2000.
Okay.
I'll look in 2001 and see if that was. Russell Crowe won for Beautiful Mind, so I don't think it was going to beat him there. But let's have a look and see who the nominees were. I'm sure this is excellent for people listening at home, but
well, I should also just say another Zemeckis and Tom Hanks collaboration, because I'm pretty sure didn't Zemeckis direct Forrest Gump?
Right. Yes, he did. And I think he also did, probably doesn't belong in this isn't the trilogy you watch, but they also did Polar Express together.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. Zemeckis has had a wild career, man. I always think, even though it's one of my favorite films of all time, it's in my top 5, I always forget that he did Back to the Future.
Yeah. He did all of them, didn't he?
All of them. So you were right. Denzel Washington did win for Training Day. Russell Crowe was nominated for Beautiful Mind.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, I don't know whether that even applies, but yeah. There you go.
So that was number 4. So Mambo number 3.
So I just you always say the line you're gonna say in a few minutes' time. I just had to come up with something other than that. We don't have to keep going through all the mumbos. It's fine.
This is where we're at the pointy end where I'm like, yeah, you really do know me very well. There are some that I just couldn't have in there in the top 5. So for Mambo number 3, I do have Michael Mann's Collateral.
I felt that was the one I felt most strongly about.
One of my all-time favorite films. I'm sorry if you're a repeat listener to the show, because I know I talk about Michael Mann a lot, particularly Collateral, but what unbelievable performances from Tom Cruise, who's just playing like a kick-ass villain. Jamie Foxx is incredible. Jada Pinkett Smith's so cool in this film. One of the few films I've seen of hers where I'm like, well, why wasn't she a massive star? She kind of just didn't have the career I thought she would.
I don't think it's her ability. I feel like, like we were just talking about the slap before. I think maybe, again, I don't know her, at all, I get the feeling maybe she's tough to work with. She just has a bit of a vibe there.
Yeah.
Like she never looks
Awesome.
happy. She never looks pleased to be around people.
It's true.
Yeah.
An awesome like one night movie. I do like a film that's like set over one night. Awesome LA movie. Your homie. Is that my briefcase? Like, what more do I have to say?
I love Collateral. It was the first film, and I saw it. I must have seen it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I must have seen it when it came out in DVD, like the weekend it released. And I remember thinking, for the first time, oh yeah, and like I was young. I was like in year 11 or year 12 when it came out. I was like, oh, Tom Cruise isn't just a movie star. And whenever people would talk down about Tom Cruise over the last decade, I would say, look, I agree. Look, I see what you mean, but have you seen Collateral? Because Collateral, I felt like was the big exception. Until recently, I've seen him do like Top Gun Maverick. He's not Tom Cruise movie star. He's acting his butt off. Collateral is a wonderful film. It's so well shot. It's so well told. Tom Cruise manages to be like sinister and charming at the same time, which is not an easy thing to pull off. I think it's a wonderful movie. And I liked seeing him with gray hair. I think that was a big thing as well. Like, so I've talked a lot about like one of my biggest problems with Tom Cruise over the years is he's always trying to prove how young he is. But just embrace it, dude. Like, it's fine. Like, we're impressed. We're impressed you can do it. You don't need to pretend to be young on top of that. We're impressed. Yeah, but Collateral is fantastic. And if I had to bet any money on a film, I thought it would have been Collateral.
Yeah, it's the perfect. I think it's like, to me, just shows why Michael Mann's such a great director, because it's like the perfect mix of like Michael Mann, the storyteller, like it's an awesome story, but also like the technician, like it's so tactile, and like the scene when they go into the nightclub, and I don't know anyone else who could. Like, I think Christopher Nolan these days would do something equally as cool, but back then, like to have like the loud music, and then to have like that's loud, and then to have an even louder like gunshots over the music, it's so visceral. So yeah, go Michael Mann.
I haven't seen Ferrari yet, but I'll go so far as to say this: I think Collateral might be Michael Mann's best film. I think I like it better than I do like it better than Manhunter, although I do like Manhunter quite a bit. And I think I like it better than Heat as well, which I know is a big statement, but
yeah, I would find it tough to split. I probably would pick Heat. I think Heat just has a little more going for it, like a few more characters, a bit more complex plot. It's got an insane
I think for me,
Al Pacino performance.
It does. I saw something recently where apparently that was not the direction given by Michael Mann, but they'd done so many takes that like Pacino just like blew up and did that, and like, yes, that's what we want. I think the length of Collateral gives it the edge over Heat for me, because I like Heat, but Heat is a long film, and I don't mind a long film, but like sometimes I just want something that moves quickly, doesn't take up too much time, can tell like a nice succinct story. As I think, I think Collateral is a tighter film than Heat. It does a lot, with less characters, less time, that sort of thing. But that's not to say Heat's a pile of garbage. It's certainly not. But I think also Collateral was my first Michael Mann film, and that might be part of it. And it's who does number 2 work for?
Well, it works for David Fincher.
Was it? I almost said Social Network before. Is it Social Network?
Nah, that's 2011. Zodiac was the film.
I said Zodiac as well.
I know. Yeah. Released in 2007. Genuine masterpiece. So the cast is way too big to name. There's so many people, but as Robert Downey Jr., who we've talked about in this episode, Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Chloe Sevigny. There's too many people, but I don't know. Have you seen this, James?
I rewatched it last year. I love Zodiac. I think it's a Fincher film that people forget. People forget he made Zodiac. Like, people think about Fight Club, they think about Seven, they think about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they think about Social Network. No, I never hear anyone really talk about the two that I hear people talk about: Zodiac and Panic Room. both of I think Panic Room is excellent as well, and your mate Jodie Foster, and a very young Kristen Stewart. But Zodiac is such a wonderful flick. Like, it manages to be like that's an example of a 3-hour movie that is engaging from start to finish. I'm always like, it moves quickly, and scary.
I mean, for those that aren't aware of what Zodiac's about, it follows a newspaper, and so like investigative reporters and police looking into who the Zodiac killer was, who was a serial killer who operated in San Francisco in the 70s. And I think one of my favorite themes about this movie, and I think Mark Ruffalo's character, who plays like a detective, says it, is that it does cover a long period of time. And he says, time passes and people forget. And it's such a, like, that line kind of sums up one of the themes of the movies, which is the tragedy of just time passing. And when the movie starts, it's vibrant. The newspaper floor is buzzing, and like Robert Downey Jr. is in it, and he's at the height of his power. He's so charismatic. And then towards the end of the film, you'll notice that, as happens when time passes, his characters drop off. They get sick, they get old, and people just forget. And Jake Gyllenhaal plays one of the reporters, and he just can't forget. He's obsessed with the case, but everyone just moves on. And it's such a ambiguous and unfulfilling ending, but I think that that's better for some reason.
Well, that's also because I think only recently they did solve it. Is that right, or is it still unsolved to this day?
I think Zodiac is unsolved. They solved another, if I know my true crime, there was another kind of person who got caught after many years.
There's a really great documentary on the Blu-ray, and I'm sure it's the DVD as well. I can't remember what it's called. It's called like "This Is the Zodiac Calling" or something like that. If you give me a moment, I'll look up. If you haven't watched it, it's fascinating. Give me a sec. I'll see if I can find it on IMDb. I was looking at my list of movies watched and it wasn't coming up. But there's like a documentary on the DVD and Blu-ray, and it's called something like "This is the Zodiac Calling" or something. And it's all about, like, they interview the guys who worked on the case, in the 70s or 70s and 80s or whenever it was. Was it even earlier? Was it earlier than 70s? The 50s?
I thought it was 70s.
Yeah, I can't remember now. But they interviewed the guy, and there's a moment where, do you remember surely you do, it's your number 2 film. There's that moment where there's like, he's like, I'm gonna shoot, like, he's like, I'm gonna shoot a busload of children, like a big square. And then, like, when the cops runs into a guy and like the guy walks off, whatever, and they brush him off, like, the cop talks about it, and he's like, I'm certain the guy that I ran into that day, the guy I hit, was the Zodiac. Like, I know it in my heart. I didn't stop him. It felt wrong at the time, but we were so focused on the shooting, we didn't like have time to stop and think about it. I know that I ran into him that day, and it's nuts. Like, it's crazy. It's such a fascinating documentary, and what an incredible movie. Like, Fincher can do no wrong, man. Like, he just makes wonderful movies.
He really does. And like, he can conjure creepy and scary like not many other people can. And that scene in where the couple are at that lake
in the middle of the day,
and like, you sort of like, the guy's like, what is that? Is that someone? And you see someone like kind of peering out from behind a tree. And we won't go into what happens there. It's pretty grim. So terrifying. And the scene where they go and the police go and interview the sort of main suspect, Arthur Lee Allen, and he has a watch that says, it's the watch brand is Zodiac. And then the terrifying scene at the end when Jake Gyllenhaal
in the basement
goes to the basement, and it's like, that's straight out of a horror film.
Yes. Oh my God.
Um, yeah, masterpiece. A film that just keeps getting better. Honestly, like
Yeah.
I probably that's probably like an annual watch for me these days. It's just I can. It's so dense
Mm,
that you're always picking up something new every time you watch it.
yeah. It's God, is it good? It's so good. I'm so proud of myself for picking two movies off your list.
Well, I was going to ask now. Normally, it'd be the element of surprise is that I would say what my number one film is, but I'd like you to guess.
Look, it's tough, man, because you got such a vast like there are some names missing. There's some big ones missing from the list right now. Like
Well,
does
I've stayed true to my heart for number one, so
like
so ignore
does
the
either
rules.
does either a Lord of the Rings movie or does the entire trilogy fall into number one? That's my gut instinct. Or
Um, I've kept trilogies out of this because there was too many where I couldn't pick
okay,
the
because
one
my
film.
next thing was to say maybe Dark Knight, because I know we haven't done
Mm.
Nolan yet. He's probably the biggest glaring omission here, so I feel like it's got to be a Nolan flick. And if it is, I
It's
feel like
not.
it's not.
Okay.
Wow.
You did mention it before, so it's a film that we've talked about a little bit, but um, this would probably be one of my top five films of all time, let alone of the 2000s. It's Inglorious Bastards.
Nice. Nice
Just
one.
I think by a little way the best film of the decade. It just is insanely rewatchable, insanely entertaining, and propulsive. It's like a great pop album that
Mm,
every track on the album is listenable. You don't, like those albums where you don't skip any tracks.
yeah.
That's what it's like. It's just unbelievable. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen it if they're listening to this podcast.
I
But
shouldn't be surprised that you would want to go out speaking the Kings.
yeah, I mean, is there a better line reading than that? Or that whole scene in the bar in the basement? But,
Say
I,
how we
I feel
descend
like
to your Nazi balls. Um,
if I feel like with all these films, I feel like I need to give like a very brief plot synopsis so that the pick makes sense. But essentially, the bastards are a group of, they're not just American soldiers, they're a mixture. There's a German in there as well who go into
Hugo Stiglitz.
Nazi occupied France um, and basically just kill Nazis. Um, I don't know. How can a film with that such a serious like subject matter be funny at the same time?
It's oh man, like I've watched this movie so many times, and Kill Bill will always hold the special place in my heart because it was my first Tarantino film. But the jump, like if you think the jump from his first three films to Kill Bill is shocking, the jump from Kill Bill to Inglourious Bastards is almost immeasurable. Like, how did he do it again?
Mm.
I'm so
So to
sorry.
me, this is like the complete like Tarantino's trajectory was just always going up,
Mm,
and I do think this is where he hit the peak. And that's not to say that the films before it were not. When I say that he was on an upwards trajectory, that's not to say that like Reservoir Dogs and Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown are like lesser films, but I do just think he was evolving.
yeah, of
And
course.
then this is
If
just
you
like,
live in the penthouse, you can't criticize the foundation which it's built on. Like,
yeah, that's right. But this to me is like someone who has just mastered their craft. It's just like you can tell he's in complete control of every single element and the
I
confidence.
agree with you. It's definitely because I would say that everything since Inglourious Bastards I have enjoyed, but not to the level I enjoyed Inglourious
Mm,
Bastards.
yeah, I would probably agree with that. I think it's just his most ambitious film, and just like starting a film with a scene entirely in French just
100%. Like
shows.
it's. I think only about 30% of the film is spoken in English. Like most of the dialogue is in French or German. and the guy who plays the milk farmer, maybe the most underrated performance in that movie.
Mm.
Like, there's so many nuances to that performance. Like, pardon me, I'm so sorry.
That's all
Like,
right.
what a way to open the flick.
And I think as well, there's some things you take for granted as well, but like it's important for people to remember there was a time before we knew who Christoph Waltz was. And
100%.
the electricity of going to see a film where this guy is on screen and he's so dynamic and like electric was incredible. Like you were just like, how is someone I've never heard of now like a top 3 villain of all time in films?
His performance in Inglourious Basterds was so good that when I watched Django Unchained, I kept waiting for him to reveal himself as a villain. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way this guy is actually a good guy. He's going to turn around and betray everyone in the last scene. And even when he died, spoilers for a 11-year-old movie, I was like, I don't know, he might still come back and be the bad guy. There's not a single bad performance in it. Like, everyone is good. Like, BJ Novak's in it. He's one of the bastards.
Yeah, BJ Novak.
Eli Roth playing Donnie Donowitz is such a great performance. I only found out the other day that was meant to be Adam Sandler.
There you go.
Because I knew Adam Sandler was meant to be in the film. I'd always heard the rumor that he was meant to play the Michael Myers role. And then when he didn't work out, Quentin Tarantino was like, well, I want like an SNL guy, so I'll get Mike Myers. But it turns out he was meant to play the Eli Roth role, but he couldn't because he had already committed to Funny People at the time, the Judd Apatow flick. But apparently, like, it goes deeper. Apparently, Tarantino had written the role of Donnie Donowitz for Adam Sandler. And now I'm like, man, I love Eli Roth in that role. I think he's great in it. But I'd be really interested to see what Adam Sandler did with it, especially having seen him in Uncut Gems. Like, I think like there's a real kind of ferocity there that I think we were robbed of. Not robbed of, like it was no one's fault, but like we did kind of miss out on. But
I mean, it introduces to so many great people though. For like us English speakers, like I didn't know who Daniel Bruhl was before this.
So good in it. Melanie Laurent. Oh, Melanie Laurent, the most beautiful woman in the world, maybe. Shoshana. Diane Kruger, I hadn't really seen in much before.
I think I'd seen her in Troy, so I kind of knew.
Oh, yeah, she is too. Michael Fassbender had been in things before, but this was kind of the thing that launched him into the career he has now.
But like, I challenge you to find many movies that just have this many iconic scenes where it's like you have this opening sequence on the dairy farm, which is just incredible when he switches between English and French and they point out the flaw. You've got like the scene in the cafe where Christoph Waltz is eating strudel.
Yeah.
He gets the clem.
It's not terrible.
Yeah. The scene in the basement bar is probably, I don't know, I know it's hard off the top of your head, but is that the best scene or sequence of the decade? Like, I don't know if there's a better.
Best sequence? Probably. But definitely most tense, I think, of the... It's a masterclass in tension building.
And then you have like the scene where the Italian directors are attending the movie. It's unbelievable. 10 out of 10.
It's great, and maybe it's definitely it's definitely the movie that made me really appreciate Brad Pitt, and I would say it's probably my favorite performance of his. Like, before, when I was surprised that he won an Academy Award for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm like, where was his nod for Inglourious Basterds? Like, he's so good in that movie. And like, the only problem with that is that even though he's on the poster, like front and center, he doesn't have a huge role in that movie. I think you'd be hard pressed to nominate anyone for a lead role in that film. It really is an ensemble piece. But Christoph Waltz did win, which was good. It's a 10 Bella. Like, it's just such a perfect film. And like one thing we haven't talked about is that they kill Hitler in this movie as well.
I know, which is also just
not even a bit. Like, he gets killed a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like funny. You kind of, I don't know what you think is going to happen in this film. Like, I suppose you're aware that it's not a real life story. But yeah, I don't know. Just they get to the end, and there's this dramatic tension because they try to assassinate Hitler, and then they do, and it's like, yeah, I don't know.
It is tough because you broke it down to a series of vignettes, and they're all great. I don't know what my favorite sequence is. Like, I love the opening sequence. I love all the cinema stuff. I love the Strudel Cafe bit. The basement scene is iconic, but I really love two scenes, two sequences we haven't really talked about. I guess part of it, the first one counts as the cinema. The whole intro where Shoshana's getting ready and the Bowie song's playing in the background, like that is shot. Like that scene exists because Tarantino did it in Kill Bill Volume 1, where they were doing like the kind of the overhead shots of the bride entering the House of Blue Leaves and stuff like that. Like it's exactly that shot, just done better, or like built on with experience. But the other sequence I really like is the scalping scene, which sounds weird to say, but like when all the bastards are there and they've got the two people, like the two Nazis in their care, and they're just kind of talking, and like then they're going around saying, "Have you heard of him? Have you heard of him?" Like it's just them chatting quite casually, and I really like that. It's a very kind of underplayed scene in a very full-on movie. I love Inglourious Basterds. It's a strong flick. That is a pretty good list, mate. I don't think I have any criticisms. You're welcome back on the show. You've passed the test.
Oh, thank you. So I've got a lot of honorable mentions, but I did just want to, one more sort of observation is,
yeah, go for it.
What an incredible movie year 2007 was. We had two of my top 5 were 2007, so Zodiac and There Will Be Blood. And also in 2007 was No Country for Old Men.
I was going to say that before. When you mentioned There Will Be Blood, I was like, No Country for Old Men, yeah.
Yeah, so what a year. That's 3 of the best films of the decade in 1 year.
It's, this reinforces my point that it probably was the best decade in cinema we've ever had.
So, all right, I'll read through them and I'll you just comment where necessary.
Go for it.
So, I've got both Matrix sequels, so Reloaded and what's the third one?
Revolutions.
Revolutions, yep. Minority Report, classic Spielberg, Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
No Country for Old Men, we just touched on. Oh, I couldn't have a list without some Tony Scott in it, so I've got Man on Fire.
I've actually never seen Man on Fire. I know I saw Domino, which I think was a Tony Scott film.
Yeah, great. Man on Fire is fantastic. A really underrated film from the decade is State of Play, which is actually got a really good cast. It's got
is that a Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe, yeah, Ben Affleck, Rachel McAdams. Really, really good film, like a political thriller. The Aviator was fantastic.
I watched that for the first time last year, The Aviator.
Oh yeah, and what did you think?
It wasn't what I was expecting at all. I didn't know kind of how, because I didn't know much about Howard Hughes, and I wasn't expecting kind of. I knew he had like agoraphobia or something like that, but I wasn't expecting the madness the way it was presented. And I was like, it's a pretty tough watch actually. Like for a Scorsese and DiCaprio hybrid, you'd think there'd be like some yucks in there, but it's pretty full on. Like it's tough, yeah, but great, like really good.
And now this is where some of the next few films, or I could easily swap out some of my top 5 for these. So we have The Departed,
so good,
The Dark Knight, Casino Royale.
Oh, so good.
I've put Lord of the Rings in there as a trilogy.
Yeah,
I mean, incredible. American Psycho.
Is American Psycho 2000s?
Yep. Is it 2000 or 2001?
That's right, it is true. If you had to pick a Lord of the Rings, I'm just step back a second. If you could only pick one from the trilogy, which one do you pick?
It'd be the extended version of Return of the King.
There we go. Interesting.
Gladiator, High Fidelity.
I think I watched that for the first time last year as well. That's a wonderful movie.
A film I mentioned earlier doesn't get enough love. The Patriot.
Yeah.
It's kind of historic action drama that they just don't make them like they used to.
I think the working title was Men with Ponytails, because it's all these like classic Hollywood actors from the 2000s. They've all got this long braided hair, as was the style at the time.
Ocean's 11,
Great flick,
ensemble. Now, I've just put in the words Harry Potter because what do you do with the Harry Potter franchise when you're doing a best of? It's probably the most influential and biggest thing probably in my life to this point. So I don't know what to do about that, but I'm just going to put the words Harry Potter here and you can figure out what that means.
Well, you get most of them. You get, I think, all the way up to, I think, 6, 1 through 6.
Did you get 7 part 1? Because the final came out in 2000.
7 part 1's in 2010 and part 2 is 2011.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because so you don't get either of them.
7 part 1 is my pick of the best of the films.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. A lot of people, that was a lot of people's least favorite because there's so much walking in it and camping.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe that's why I just found it was. Yeah, it's funny.
It's really good. It's really good because you get a lot of emotional development, which you don't get in the other flicks. So.
Yeah, you get those sweet moments that like could have come off as a bit cheesy, but like I really like that moment when Harry and Hermione are
dancing.
They dance.
Yeah.
Catch Me If You Can, another brilliant film.
Thomas Hanks and Leonardo.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2 was in my top 5 list the other week. Yeah.
Yeah. Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Mystic River.
Oh, what a flick!
Got my daughter in there. That was my impression of Sean Penn in that movie. Runaway Jury, another really great. That's a John Grisham adaptation.
Oh my god, I referenced that last week because Josh had on his list the movie Identity with John Cusack. I don't remember Identity.
I don't.
Oh, it's like a great thriller. Like we refuse to spoil the ending because we haven't seen anything like Identity. But Identity was a great flick. But we were talking about like movies like that. I'm like, yeah, do you remember Runaway Jury? Like in the trailer, it's just Gene Hackman going, "You're losing me, my jury."
That is, he says that a lot.
That's a big trailer, and you heard that on the radio because they used to advertise movies on the radio. Runaway Jury.
Love Actually, I just think that film stands the test of time. Still a Christmas classic.
For those listening and who aren't aware of this, every year at Christmas I send Nick the same video for Christmas, and it's from the musical number at the end of that movie, which is his least favorite part in the movie. Which he turns around and points at the boy. These are
Pirates of the Caribbean.
That was on my top 5. I love Curse of the Black Pearl. People forget how great that movie is.
No, people do forget how great like that is. Like I think so many sequels that kind of diluted just how like insanely good the first one was. And I did like the sequels. I thought it was pretty cool. Like they built some pretty cool lore.
I was talking about this last week with Josh, like because I rewatched 2 and 3. I rewatched 1 last year. I rewatched 2 and 3 earlier this year. And I remember not really liking them in cinema. And like on the rewatch, I'm like, I was crazy. These are great. Like, yeah, they're not as good as part 1, but they did some really wonderful stuff, considering. And I was saying to Josh, the listeners are probably sick of me saying by now, but like Keira Knightley's arc in those films, like for the time that those movies came out, is so progressive. Like she actually has a really strong character arc. She gets some really cool, gets to do a lot of really cool things that a lot of women weren't getting to do in roles, that were dominated by men in the 2000s. So, yeah, they're wonderful. They're really good movies.
The Village?
I've never seen The Village. It's one of the few Shyamalan films I haven't been able to get access to. So I know the twist, but
yeah, see, that's the hard thing. Is like, but it's unbelievable film, and to be honest, probably the greatest twist I've ever. I pride myself on being a bit of a dumbass. I never pick the twist. I just don't think that deeply while I'm watching a film. So.
Well, watch Argyle and tell me if you picked the twist because it surprised me. I think Sixth Sense has got a pretty good claim for twists.
Yeah. This one just got me. I'm allowed to have my own choice, aren't I?
No, this is my show. No, fair enough.
I promise I'm getting to the end. Batman Begins, of course.
Yes.
Prestige.
Yes.
Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
just for like the fight scene alone, that flick is brilliant. But when Jack Black kicks the dog off the bridge, well, now he's going in the water. That's how I'm doing. That flick is. It's crazy how good it is. Like, it's so quotable. I quoted the other day, like, Tina asked me to do something, and I was like, I'll get it done 60% of the time, 100% of the time, whatever it is. But the quote that I've been quoting the most is, you ate an entire wheel of cheese? I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. Because Tina's been going through like a cheese phase where she's been like making this like, actually, it's really good. She'll get like a wheel of like brie or camembert, and she like puts like herbs and olive oil and like rock salt on top of it, and then wax in the air fryer, and it gets all melty, and then you just like dip crackers into it. It's legitimately amazing. But every time I've come home, sometimes she's had it by herself, and I'll be like, "You ate an entire wheel of cheese." That movie is, it's so good. I have many leather-bound books. The other quote I referenced, I quoted Anchorman like 3 times in the last week because we're talking about. We listened to Blink-182 and they've got that song San Diego, and Zoe was like, "What's San Diego?" And to Tina, I know my brother go, "Whale's vagina."
Yeah, I think if it like, I do want to watch it because I wouldn't have seen this film for like well over 10 years now because I probably watched it like 100 times in like the 2 years it came out, like just an insane amount. And I'd quote it. I knew every line. So I don't know. I should go back and watch it. And then the final few are Superbad, which again was massive for me. Shooter.
Which one?
Shooter with Wahlberg. Shooter. Never seen Shooter?
Shooter. I thought you said tutor, like someone who tutors people. I was like, Mark Wahlberg, do you like an education-based film? Like, I haven't seen Shooter. No, I've heard it's excellent
film. Though. Another hidden gem, probably should have been on when we did our list of hidden gems, is Frost/Nixon.
That's a great flick.
Which was really, really engaging film. Watchmen, which came out right at the end, just snuck in. And then, of course, District 9 rounds out my
District 9 is great. Watchmen had that great poster campaign because it came out on the 6th of March in 2009. But because it was an American poster, just said 369. And they did like all the Rorschach posters. The Watchmen is excellent.
I think Watchmen's like, I think I remember it being pretty successful at the time. Like it wasn't like a small movie, but I think that's one of those films that gets better the longer, like the further away you get from it. Like
I think it's
now
still
you go back and watch it.
Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, now you go back and watch it and you're like, oh no, this is like a classic film, and like it's dark, yes, but like there's things happening in that film that no one else is doing.
It has the best opening credit sequence of any movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
I would Wolverine, ironically, X-Men Origins Wolverine comes pretty close. It does something very similar with its opening scene, which is really good. But the opening title sequence, this whole scene where like the comedian's getting beaten up by Ozymandias in his apartment, but we don't know it's Ozymandias yet. Like, and you see, like, this is all taken from the comic, but the smiley face button falls down. You got Rorschach's narration, where it's like, and I'll look down and say no. Like, the scene where Night Owl and Silk Spectre are fighting the thugs in the alleyway, and she busts the guy's bone through his arm, like,
and just the whole, it's crazy, the arc and like the character of the Dr. Manhattan, like, and it's just so melancholy and like, I don't know, it's a bizarre storyline.
Billy Crudup, like, who would have thought?
Yeah,
he's. I hadn't really seen him in anything before that film, and now whenever his name pops up, I'm like, oh, Billy Crudup. Patrick Wilson as Night Owl, like, he hadn't really done much. He was just kind of, I'm sure he'd done a few films. He'd done Hard Candy before that, but I hadn't seen him in much. And that, like, and now he's worked with Snyder on just about everything. Like, he's in Batman v Superman as the voice of the president. He played Orm in the Aquaman films. Like, he's been in those Conjuring movies. He's such a wonderful actor. Pardon me. It gave us Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the comedian. Like, that guy's
pivot because we're not. I don't want to start a new topic because it's getting super late.
Yeah,
But
sure.
what's the sort of background of the Watchmen? Like, like because they're like, do they have like super strength, or are they just normal people? Because they do
No,
seem to break people's bones.
they're vigilantes. So the only person who has powers is Dr. Manhattan. Um, Everyone else just dresses up. And the idea was like it was meant to be kind of like this anti-fascist thing, and like the idea of rebelling against a police state and stuff like that, because the government in this version of America, um, when they won the war against Vietnam, and Vietnam became the 51st state in America. But like the Watchmen kind of became this kind of anti-government, anti-power kind of costume police force, basically. Um, and then if you've ever watched the TV show, which is not, is all original, it goes back even further to like the kind of the hunting of African American people in the 1920s, and that's where the idea of it really began, kind of fighting police corruption back then. But yeah, it's very anti-establishment.
Mm.
Um, it's a very cool story, and like it came out at the right time for us, like because I was 21, so I was just like, yeah, anarchy, let's do it. And like now
Yeah,
as like a guy in his mid 30s with a mortgage, I'm like, yeah, like maybe not anarchy. Like, is there a way we can resolve this with our words? Because I got to go to work tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah, which is the opposite of cool, I know. And great soundtrack as well. Like
yeah.
when Jimi Hendrix kicks in as the night, like the kind of night owl is flying over the Antarctic, like brilliant. And you see the smiley face like embedded in the snow. Yeah, so good. Good
That's
list,
it.
good
That's
honorable
my list.
mentions, good decade, good friends, good night. Uh,
That would actually have been the sickest way to end this podcast. You just have to cut this out and then finish it there.
Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to hip the folks to before we get out of here?
Um, no, I don't think so.
Watch every
Watch.
movie that Nick mentioned.
Yeah, do that, but also a pivot to. I feel like when film snob industries gets larger, I want to head up the TV component because I just find I watch a lot more TV at the moment than movies,
We got to start watching TV, and then we can talk.
and um, and everyone watch Shogun. It's streaming on
Yeah, it looks
Disney.
good. They're saying
Um,
it's like Game
I've
of
been
Thrones for the samurai era. So
I've been looking for something to fill that Game of Thrones shaped void in my life.
mm.
Um, Something that is just pure escapism. You put it on, it's like, and it pretty much is. It pretty much is Game of Thrones, but with samurais.
And as we know,
Um,
Shogun rhymes with Drogon. Don't check it. Don't check the spelling. It does. Um,
Coincidence? Well,
Not at all.
you be the judge.
Mother of samurais over there. That's probably a good cue to get out of here. Nick Owen does mention before he doesn't really use Instagram anymore, but if you can find him, give him a little follow, send him some love. If you want to support this show, jump on over to Instagram. I was a teenage film snob, underscores between every single word. And I'm doing a lot of video content at the moment. So if you're into that sort of thing, you can see my face as well as hear my lovely voice. I've been doing some unboxing videos because I order a lot of stuff. I did like a short sketch for the guys at Movie Boners where I play Batman. Now you know that character's cursed, because if you didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman, you ain't seen nothing yet. Yeah, so lots of video content there. I'm doing some Q&As and stuff like that, as always, and giving you weekly updates and stuff like that. I got some big guests coming in the coming weeks. I've got 3 international guests to begin with, who I'm very excited about, including an actress, which is very, very cool. And if you want to support the show financially, jump on over to tpublic.com, search for I Was a Teenage Film Snob, or find the link in my bio on Instagram. They're like $20 or something, but you get 20% off as a first-time buyer. I don't get any of the money, but it does spread the word, and the shirts look good and they're comfy, so treat yourself to a nice t-shirt. That is all the plugs done and dusted. Thank you again to my lovely friend Nick Owen. It's always a blast when he's here. We didn't plan to go this long or this late, but we always break
That's what
the.
she said.
Whoa! That is as good a sign as any to get out of here. Thank you again to the lovely Nick Owen. Thank you all for listening. And as I say every single week on this show, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.